Hey YouTube friends, there's only one more sleep until our very first plant club meet. I'm nervous, I'm excited, all the things. And so today's video is all about Plant Club, of course. I can't believe that it's May and Plant Club is finally here, but I am super nervous because apart from talking to you guys one-on-one, I haven't spoken in front of people for a very long time. And then also there's the fear of, oh my goodness, I hope people actually turn up. What if I'm there and no one turns up? So all those things are going around in my head. We're meant to be doing a bit of a plant swap as well. Although I've got a lot of plants growing, I haven't really even thought about which ones I'm going to take along tomorrow. Yeah, just feeling completely overwhelmed this afternoon. I can't believe it's 4 o'clock. Plant club's at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and literally at the moment I have a box. I did get some garden lights delivered this week, luckily, so this box will come in handy. I thought it would be really good to show everyone some tools that I use, just very basic. I am absolutely not an expert. I would say that I've maybe just got my training wheels off when it comes to plants, but trying to think back to what would I have liked to know when I was killing all of those cactuses around that whole theme of propagations, because that's what people have been asking me for. So I thought, well, a jar of just some of my basics. Also, as part of getting the garden lights delivered, I haven't had a planting mat before, and I thought that will be perfect tomorrow when we do some propagations, and also some gloves, of course. So that's all we've got in the box at the moment. Anyway, I think first up, because we're talking propagations, there is a propagation I have been putting off for, I can't even say weeks, for months and months and months. I've just been watching my Raffy in the spare room get taller and taller and taller. I had to borrow my husband's ladder today to do this, and I thought that is the perfect place for us to start this video. Let's start in the recording room on a ladder and let's get that Raffy propagated. Yep. Today's episode is absolutely starting with me on a ladder, and I'm potentially breaking multiple safety rules here. I'm going to do my best to stick to all the safety rules that I've been taught over the years at work. Not even sure that I'm going to be able to reach up as high as I need. This plant is well and truly over 2.5 meters tall now, and I've been, as you do, meaning to propagate it for quite some time because it just keeps getting taller and taller, and it's just one stem. I'm just not happy with the way it's growing because up here is so beautiful and it's just, as I said, getting taller and taller and it loves its spot. But the bit of the plant that I see mostly when I sit here and I edit my videos is the bit down the bottom, and the pot looks a bit empty. It's actually physically attached to the wall. I can no longer move it from where it is, and I absolutely love that. This is exactly where I wanted it to grow. But I need it to stop being so sparse down the bottom. So before it gets totally unreachable and I cannot take any propagations, because obviously I need to take it from the newer leaves up the top, let's get this done. Let's get some propagations going. I'm very conscious. I used to be a health and safety person at work, so I'm going to try and remember all of my health and safety procedures with regards to ladders, and hopefully I don't break too many of them. So please don't judge too much. Can you still see me? I think you can still see me in the viewfinder. Now I've got my handy clippers disinfected and ready to go, of course, because I have been dealing with some pests. All right, so keeping 3 points of contact. So where it starts connecting to the wall above the photo, I want to leave some of that, and I'm going to try and get at least 3 or 4 node points in so I can get 2 different clippings. This plant and I have had quite the history. Trying to propagate it makes me a little bit nervous, but I have got, what have I got? 1, 2, 3. So I've got 4 node points here. So see, the node points are these knobbly bits where the leaf joins. See these points here? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half again. So make sure I leave 2 node points on this one and 2 node points on this one. And I'm going to try and do 2 propagations out of this. So we're going to make sure that we've got 2 on each cutting. You know, the trickiest bit when you're cutting plants is sometimes when I'm cutting it in half like this one's obvious because it's got the leaf growing on the top, you can tell it's the top. But when I've cut propagations like this before, sometimes it's hard to know which way's up. I'm going to hold this one up like this until I put it in the water. I don't normally use rooting hormone. I did buy rooting hormone for my begonias because I was just so worried that it wasn't going to work. I think I'll dip these in rooting hormone as well. I'll be back in a sec. We'll dip this in rooting hormone and find a nice jar or something to put them in. Although no time has passed for you guys, it's actually the morning of the plant swap. I am so excited, so nervous, and the autistic side of my brain is screaming at me, Mel, what have you done? We've got about 2 hours until Plant Club officially starts. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. What happened last night, I started filming for you guys. I started getting everything ready, and then mum taxi mode kicked in, and I ended up spending the afternoon running my kids around to some social events. And then by the time I got back, I needed to walk the dog. By that time, the sun had gone down and it wouldn't have been very good lighting out here to film for you guys. I've actually done a lot of this at night time. Let me show you what I've got. So we've got We the Wild Protect. I've got my hydroponic nutrients here, and also the nutrients that I use just on my regular plants. A sample of the chunky mix so I can show people without there being plants in the way. I thought people can maybe, touch it and look at it if they need. So my chunky mix with the cocoa core, the cocoa bark, perlite, and a little bit of leca. So for the plant swap, what do I end up here? I did some little cute succulent selections for people. Thought this would be really cute. I love them anyway. I've got here's one I prepared earlier with the pothos. So I thought, I've not long done this one. It's just starting to get roots. So I'll be able to show people that one. Some more succulents. My baby rubber plant is just growing wild at the moment. So I've taken a really good clipping of that for someone if anyone's really interested. So here's one I prepared earlier. I've got some Hoyas that I've been growing in water. Can you guys see those roots? I'm not sure that sun's in the wrong spot, isn't it? I thought this would be really good to show people. And also I've got some ivy that grows randomly in our garden. I actually got given it during the last plant swap, and it's just in a pot underneath our macadamia nut tree. And it just goes bananas, but it was interesting. I tried to propagate this in water. It did not go well at all. But this is sphagnum moss and perlite. I only put it in to put on our Easter table. You can see it's in an Easter mug, and it's going really well. So I thought this will be really good to show people that water is great, and I do use it for the majority of my plants. But for some plants, water propagation is not ideal, and this was definitely one. And that surprised me because this is a pretty hardy plant. So this is, for anyone who hasn't seen any of my earlier videos, this is my back area, guys, with the clear perspex up here. So this is why I call it, like, it's a semi-greenhouse, I guess, because it is open, but it has this beautiful perspex. So when we first moved in, I thought, why would you put a perspex up here? I have to avoid this part of the back area during the hottest part of the day. It's so sunny. And now that I have plants, I absolutely love the perspex because my plants love the perspex area. This is one of my pothos that grows here on the ladder, and I thought it's got a few vines coming down. So I thought this will be really good to be able to cut some off and show people propagations. I've also got behind me, I've got a few snake plants which I'll be able to give away. Some ZZs, because I just think if you're getting into plants, these are so easy, like so forgiving, so easy care. And I've got a little one here too where we're doing the plant swap. It's only a few minutes up the road. My beautiful neighbour owns an op shop, and she's done up the entire back garden area. It's in an old house, and she's opening it to community events, which I'm so grateful about. I think I'm going to need definitely more than one box. I've got so much stuff here. I didn't feel organised at all when I started filming yesterday for you guys, but you know what? I'm not going too badly. I was a lot more organised than I thought. And so this Adansonii, I always have trouble saying that, Adansonii, just the other day took some clippings because it was actually getting a little bit long, and I'm super keen to bush this up. So I've taken a few clippings off it. So this will be another, this is what I prepared earlier, but I thought it's good to show people. And also it's in one of my self-watering pots, DIY self-watering pots. I thought this would be great to show. And then the big guy, this is my glass vase that my fiddle leaf fig always grows in. So that was just a clipping off the fiddle leaf fig that's behind me. So you can see it's getting quite tall, and sometimes it just has branches sticking out. So whenever I give it a trim, I always make sure that I put the branches in water, and they grow beautifully in water. Eventually I do pot them up in my chunky mix, but also I've taken a clipping of a Dracaena from our garden because I find these propagate really well in water. They are a plant, actually, eventually I probably get about 6 months out of them once they're well rooted, and then they will start rotting after a few months. So that's when I put them in my chunky mix before they do that. And then I've got a big glass vase that's too big to take today, so I just took one of the snake plants out, but I thought it also good for people to see. I don't know, guys, what do you think? I think I'm organised. Can't wait to show you around when we get there. The space that my neighbour has prepared is it's just beautiful. Literally, we're going to be one of the very first events in this new space. They've got a coffee shop. Anyway, I'm going to turn this off now, try and fit all of this into my 2 boxes. And next time I see you guys, we'll actually be at Play Club. I'll see you there. So this is what I'm using at the moment. The only time I do have heavy duty fungicide. So if I have a really bad like fungus outbreak on my plants that I can't deal with this, I do use it, but I really try not to use it. And one of the biggest things I do to pest control my plants is I actually hose them and put them out in the rain. One of the best things I've found is hosing the plant leaves down, so it stops the dust on them, but it also gets rid of the pests. But if I do need pest control, so I use We the Wild Protect. I wait, they have 30% sales. I wait until they go on sale. And then I just put it in a spray bottle, and then I use a heavy duty fungicide if I get like really bad brown spot. I had to tip the water out to travel, but if you imagine, that's normally in water. Yeah. So for my water plants, I use a plant food that looks like this. So I actually found them online. They're an Australian company, but the water stays clear, so it still looks pretty. So it works just as good as all the other fertilizers that I use, but it just looks good aesthetically. And then all of my plants that are in my chunky mix, a bit of a soil mix, I use this one for. But this would work equally in here, it's just it makes the water brown. So I just mix it up, like nothing exciting. I just look at the instructions, and if I'm doing it, if I've just repotted a plant or I've got a new plant, I make it up maybe a little bit weaker. Really good plant people do it every time they water. I don't. I probably do it every second time I water. I'll pass this around for you guys. So I don't use soil in any of my plants. I either grow them in water. I have a lot of my plants growing in water, but the rest of them put in a mix. And I only started doing that because I have sinus, and so environmental scientist who loves plants, who's allergic to dirt. The irony, seriously. It's so bad. I'm so grateful this is fake grass, because otherwise the eyes would be watering. So I really quickly learned to grow plants in water. The more plants I got, the more my sinuses went bananas. So I really quickly learned water and this.
Is that going to be indoor plants that you use that for?
Indoor plants, but also if I'm propagating garden plants, I sometimes propagate. So this is one of my dracaenas out of the garden. I thought you guys can take it if you like. I grow them in water. I keep forgetting my camera's there. So they can just grow in water. With the dracaenas, I find I do about 6 months in water and they'll grow the roots really good. And then I do have to transfer them into like a soil because they start going a bit soggy at the bottom. But you can totally propagate them in water. And this one is a fiddle leaf.
I love that.
Yeah. So I've got a big fiddle leaf at home that's like as tall as the roof, and it gets in the, like the branches get so long, so every time it gets along I just put it in water, and same, eventually that'll go yuck. I'll maybe get like 12 months or so out of it, and then I'll put this one in my chunky mix.
So Mel, what's in your mix here?
Yes, so the mix, yes, easily distracted by plants. There's so many different ways to do this tree. This is just what I'm using at the moment, but I'm just about to start experimenting with some pumice and some zeolite as well. So the really fine stuff you can see in there that looks a bit like soil is coconut core, and you can just buy that in Bunnings, like in a block, and you add it to the water. And I do that for the moisture retention. And then bigger bits of the orchid bark, or this is actually coconut core bark. The idea is just to make the soil airy. And then some coarse perlite. I buy the perlite online or from hydroponic places. I do prefer the coarse perlite. And then I have some of my plants in leca, so I always, if I've got spare leca balls left over, I put that in too. And the idea, oh goodness, it makes it and I find that, that's just been really
good for my plants. Moist.
Thank you, yeah. And you can see, and a lot of my plants I grow in either glass jars like this or in these clear pots, and so you can see when they need to be watered. So you can see that's really nice and wet.
Yeah.
This stuff down the bottom is called Mabgrow. A lot of planty people overseas use something called PON, P-O-N. So it's like your pumices and your lava rock. We can't get it easily here in Australia, so our alternative is the company actually that make this, do this Mabgrow. And I'm going to try and attempt to make it myself. A lot of planty people are starting to mix it through this as well. The introduction I do in my YouTube channel is, hey, I'm Mel. A few years ago, I was a complete plant tragic. I could absolutely kill anything. There was a trail up to my compost bin of all of my plants that I killed. And I was particularly good at killing succulents. I thought they looked really pretty in my bathroom that didn't have any light. And the sicker they looked, I'm like, I mustn't be loving them enough. I mustn't be watering them enough. So the thing that changed it was I rescued a snake plant. So this is one of my snake plants from my OG
snake plant. We were doing some renos in the backyard, married to a tradie. Our house has been in renovation mode, I want to say, for over 10 years. one of the renovations we were doing, there was a bobcat in the backyard and it was going to rip up. This came with the house and I'm like, I can't let it do it. So I pulled it out of the garden, and where I pulled it out from was on the other wall was our TV cabinet, and I went, oh, I'm just going to put it on the TV cabinet because that'll get similar sun to what it was getting in the garden. And that was it. Then I started experimenting with plants. This only happened a few years ago, so I am absolutely not an expert, and I'm scientist by trade, love to experiment. But if it wasn't for this guy, yeah, I would still be killing succulents. Please chime in. This is definitely not the Mel show, so if you guys have something to say, I'm just trying to learn from my previous plants where people wanted me to see stuff. So snake plants are awesome. I grow them in this. I grow them in the leca, these little like the clay ball. Oh my goodness, I've had a blank. Clay balls, basically. Something expanded clay aggregates, blank. And the cool thing about snake plants, you can cut a bit of the leaf off. I didn't have any because I haven't done any recently, and put that in soil and it'll grow.
When you're growing these in water, are you changing that water?
Or just topping it up?
Because I'm bad at changing things. It's annoying and I forget.
Okay, so when I'm having a lazy week, I just top it up. So if I'm propagating, so for these guys, and particularly it's in a small container, I will change the water every week. I really look after it and make sure it's clean. Once they have roots, stretch it out until about 2 weeks. And also, the whole idea, when they grow water roots, they like a fish gills, they pull the oxygen out of the water. So if you're not giving it fresh water, they'll run out of oxygen. Eventually.
You could get away until it looks manky and then go, oh, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
If you're doing any water propagation, you put pothos in it, put a pothos cutting in it. This releases a hormone which encourages the other plants to grow. And that says don't actually change the water until you get through.
I did that too, but I haven't tried. Have you tried it before?
Yeah.
And has that worked?
Yeah.
I love that tip.
I put pothos in with anything.
I look in my house where I could potentially put it. Like I don't have any sunlight coming in, and the places that I think would be great, then I don't have anywhere in front of it. Like there's my sink as an example, or things that are annoying in the way.
I know they're obviously not plenty enough because there is always a way. He's my
Hanging.
Are there any that don't need sunlight?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
I love that question.
Yes,
that is like one of my favourite questions because the little scientist in me goes, woohoo!
Yes.
Okay.
Because if not, I'm going to find one for you.
So there is low light plants, but there's no light plants. I say to people, think of the plant's leaves as solar panels. So, you know, when we were all bored in science class, except for me, you couldn't be taking notes. So anyway, so think of these. So go back to science. Think of these as solar panels. So the way that these guys grow is they absorb carbon dioxide, light, and water. They suck the water up, and then they convert that into sugar and oxygen, which is why we love having plants in the house. And the sugar is actually their main food source. They say to think of fertilizer as actually like vitamins for the plant.
Okay.
So if you think of them like that, that's another reason why you've got to dust your plants. I never dust my plants, I just hose them because you want to keep the solar panels clean. The general rule of thumb is if you can read in a room during the day without turning the light on, it'll be enough for a low light plant.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was saying to Sam is plants will yell at you and tell you. You can try a plant in a spot and it'll tell you pretty soon if it's not happy or not. Give it a few weeks. Like this guy, oh my god, these are meant to be the easiest care plants. This and I have been fighting for a few years. It's only in the last sort of 8 months that I found its spot, and now it's like 2.5 meters tall.
We're friends now.
We're friends, but we weren't friends.
I've started going like you said about if you're buying an orchid and you can't keep it alive, think about it like a bunch of flowers. Well, I do with that with some plants and things, right? You know, if I've spent $30 on a nice bunch of flowers, why can't I buy $30 on a nice plant? And if it dies, I can let it go. So I'm getting better at doing that, but I generally buy 2. Find the area outside and I'll swap them over. So I have a really nice plant inside, but I swap it out every week. So if you've got like a dark corner like that, maybe that's the thing you could do is,
Because then, they're getting light for a week and they're not going to be in there long enough to do them any damage.
The biggest problem is we've got all like the blockout curtains in our whole house, and we're shift workers, so there's times where we actually need sleep.
Yeah.
Especially our bedroom could be pitch black for a week, and then the next week we're both on days, and then everything's opened all day.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm trying to be mindful. But our new bathroom, we've got actually there's no curtains in that. We put like the frosting on the
Yes.
yeah, and I'm thinking, oh, that's actually perfect because the sun comes around that side of the house, so it's not getting the direct sun, but it's
It'll
getting
be
all of that
filtered.
light.
And frosted bathroom
Well
windows,
done.
plants will love
Don't
you.
care if my husband can get enough sleep, but
The
I'll
plants
have
will be
some
happy.
amazing plants.
And you're right, I had totally forgotten because I am addicted to grow lights now. I'm not only addicted to plants, I'm addicted to grow lights. But before I had grow lights, my husband used to joke, you spend your life moving plants in and out, because I would do the same every day. We've got like a breakfast bar outside our kitchen and it's under that perspex. So every day I would take turns taking my plants out onto the breakfast bar. I don't have to do that now because every plant I kept taking out, I've got grow lights for, but it worked.
Now, if it's a rainy day, I'll text Mel and I'll be like, "You've taken all your plants out, so it'll go in the rain, haven't you?" She's like, "Yes." And she takes them on little excursions, fresh rainwater. 50 inside, so it'll just take me too long.
Yeah, my brother-in-law rang the doorbell after, I don't know, one of the previous lots of heavy rain, and I am like drenched. And he said, "You're taking plants out, aren't you?" Yes, I am.
It's just like they've just been invigorated.
Oh yeah.
Because I think in nature, like even if they're planted in the, like the water actually goes right through, whereas when we've got our plants inside, they're often on a little pot or whatever,
Yes.
and it kind of just, you know, I think something about flushing them right through really helps them, gets all of the old nutrients out and fresh stuff in. I chuck mine in the shower.
That's a good idea.
I just load. I actually got IKEA has these little triple shelf plastic things on wheels, so I just load those up and chuck them in the shower.
Are you growing your spider plants actually in the water?
Yes, earlier I was saying a lot of my plants that I grow in water, eventually they go bleh, and I have to put them in soil in my chunky mix. But I'm yet to have a spider plant do that. Thank you.
Because I've got lots of shops, as I was saying before, do that.
Yeah, the trick is just to make sure they're still getting some
actually
light.
attached?
I'm glad because I've got so many of these at home. I wasn't sure if people would be interested.
That's amazing.
Thank you, very forgiving. And between them and the pothos, I can grow them in water long term. Most of my other plants eventually end up back in soil. But they grow equally. For anyone that hasn't got these, they grow equally as well in soil. It's just I like them in water.
Yeah. I think they look a bit prettier.
This is my plant friend Chrissy. Hi. Between the two of us, we just love plants. Yeah, we could just talk for plants hours. I'm a bit nervous now you're here. I have to pretend I know what I'm doing.
Happy to pipe in and help when needed.
So I was just going to show everyone just when I'm propagating with plants like this. So a lot of your philodendrons, you know, this guy here, your mini monstera, and your pothos, they make it really easy for you because you're looking for nodes, and nodes are these knobbly bits. That's where your leaves are going to grow from.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm taking a clipping, I take at least 2 nodes just because it gives the plant a better chance.
The thing I'll do is with the smaller ones, with the pothos, just let them dry off for an hour or so, so they don't rot. So they
Callus over.
So interesting how we all have slightly different tweaks. So if it was me, I'd cut that bottom leaf off.
Would you?
And then I'd put the first node underwater.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
This is great. See, this is why we're doing it because this is the way I've always done it and got shown how to do it.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So what, Chrissy, you would put this whole bit because I've had things rot when I do that.
So I actually chopped it there, like right at
So
the base
you've
where the
even
node
done
is.
more nodes.
Chopped off the bottom 2 leaves, so just the top one's left, and a whole new node underwater has grown from there, extra roots. So I've found wherever the nodes are underwater, roots will grow.
Roots will grow.
You just got to experiment to see what works.
you do the end like you're saying, but I always keep these, chop them up with a couple of nodes, and I put some rooting powder in some water, soak them in that overnight or for a few hours, and then you just put them in. I put perlite in the bottom. You can use bacon loss, up to you, but just damp in like an old yogurt container. Chop, chop, chop. So I'd make maybe 6 out of that, maybe even more. And same with all of these. Chop, 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 top and bottom. Just chuck them in, leave them. Come back after a month, and you'll see they will start to start.
Shooting. And this is the perlite, so this is the white
What
stuff.
people
Awesome.
do is they do that same chopping technique that you said, chop through, and then put it in one of those the Chinese clear containers.
Yeah.
Oh,
A little bit of dirt,
Yeah.
all the little nodes on top with a little sprinkle, and then just gently put the lid on. You might want a few little holes for air, and then they'll just sprout.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways.
I think that's the
Look,
best
this is just
thing.
nature,
Yeah.
just wanting to reproduce. So
Yeah.
give it conditions where it can do that, then it'll find a way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. I love that you guys said that. So that is one of the biggest things with plant care. You know how I said experimenting, finding ways that works for you.
Yeah.
So my way might work your way, or you guys' way might
Yeah.
work, or something completely different.
Well, that's it, guys, for the first of what I hope is many plant club videos for you guys to watch. It was such an awesome day. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. There was, as you saw, I was hoping for at least 5 people to turn up. Didn't actually count, but it felt like there was at least 12 or 13 people there, and not all of them were friends and family either. Some of them were members of the community. My cousin Sam, thank you Sam if you're watching, went around taking some photos for me, so I'll be putting some photos up in the B-roll for you. There was so many beautiful plants that people brought along. I actually ended up getting myself a Hoya. I'm loving Hoyas at the moment, and a beautiful philodendron. I use my plant ID app. It's philodendron horse's head, I think. I just love the shape of the leaves. So hopefully Editing Mel is going to be able to do a good job for you, and you're going to, just like all of my other videos, pick up a few handy tips, particularly from other people that came along. I haven't shown anyone's faces because I didn't know how comfortable people would be with the YouTube video. I'm trying to have a think about how I can edit in a way that you can get their information, because oh my goodness, people had some really great ideas. So I'll have a bit of a play around on how I can edit this for you. But when you're watching this bit of the video, you'll know how I've already done it because you would have already watched that. So anyway, guys, oh woohoo! First plant club done. People seem really excited about it. Fingers crossed that it just grows from here. You know, just even sharing propagations. The coffee shop was great. The day was just beautiful today. Beautiful May weather here in southeast Queensland. And I'm just hoping it's just the first of many planty conversations that I can keep sharing with you guys as well. So that's it from another plenty video from me. I hope that you've really enjoyed it. And until my next video, take care. And remember, guys, you've totally got this.